James would never imagine that an ordinary Saturday afternoon would unravel into a life-altering drama. As he stepped through the glass doors of an upscale boutique, a heady blend of rich leather and subtle cologne enveloped him, transporting his senses to a realm of refined elegance. Yet, before he could savor the luxury, a piercing, disdainful glare halted him in his tracks, like a hawk fixated on an unsuspecting rodent. What began as an exploration of opulence swiftly morphed into an encounter charged with unexpected tension. What secret did that look conceal? On this sunlit Saturday, the bustling atrium of the mall thrummed with vibrant energy. James, a sharply dressed gentleman in his early 40s, carried the air of one who had clawed his way to success through grit and perseverance. Clad in a perfectly tailored suit and polished shoes that whispered confidence with every step, he wandered through the high-end emporium, admiring the curated selection of exquisite jackets and fine fabrics. Behind the sleek counter, Henry Wilson, a man in his late 50s with years etched in his stern gaze, watched intently. Having helmed the boutique for more than 2 decades, Henry prided himself on knowing his clientele. Yet, in James, he saw a stranger, someone who didn't match the familiar mold he expected from his loyal patrons. What misjudgment was about to shatter his certainty? Drawn by the allure of quality craftsmanship, James delicately picked up a sumptuous leather wallet. Its texture promised both style and substance, and he intended to make it his next acquisition. But in a heartbeat, the quiet reverie shattered. Henry stormed from behind the counter, voice booming, "Return that immediately!" In the charged silence that followed, confusion twined with disbelief as James, momentarily stunned, managed a wry, dry laugh, an almost incredulous reaction to what he assumed was a misguided jest. "Pardon me," James murmured, holding the wallet as if it were an offering of peace. "I was just about to settle up." But Henry's features contorted with raw anger as he snapped, "Don't play coy, I've been watching you since you walked in. Folks like you aren't here to shop, they're here to steal." Whispers swirled among onlookers as judgment and suspicion hung heavily in the air. Could this spectacle be a case of mistaken identity or something far more sinister? Unruffled by the mounting commotion, James calmly produced his sleek, black credit card, his voice steady as he declared, "I can afford every piece in this boutique, I was just about to pay." Yet, the rebuke was relentless. With a dismissive slap of the card, Henry retorted, "I'm summoning security." Within minutes, a burly officer named Brad arrived, his presence exuding an unyielding authority. Henry wasted no time, thrusting an accusatory finger toward James. "That man attempted theft, I demand he be detained." Despite the rough grip on his arm, James maintained his composure, quietly insisting, "I haven't taken anything, perhaps you should review your cameras." Henry sneered, dismissing the need for evidence. "I don't require gadgets to recognize a thief when one walks through my door." A silent, seething awareness passed between James and himself. He recognized a deep-seated bias at play, yet sensed that an unseen twist lay in wait. Just as Officer Brad began escorting James toward the exit, the boutique's atmosphere shifted with the arrival of a statuesque woman in a navy blazer. Olivia Brooks, exuding an air of quiet command as the newly appointed head of mall operations, surveyed the unfolding scene with measured concern. "What exactly is happening here?" she inquired, her tone firm yet composed. Henry hastily pivoted, declaring, "I caught this man in the act of stealing, I was on the verge of having him removed." Olivia's gaze flickered between the two men. "Did you even review the security footage?" she pressed. Henry scoffed, "I don't need cameras when my eyes are my proof." A subtle, knowing smile tugged at James's lips as he crossed his arms. "Perhaps it's time we properly introduce ourselves," he intoned. Olivia's eyes widened in dawning realization. "Mr. Wood," she whispered, incredulous. And then, with a playful shake of her head, she revealed the twist. "Mr. Wood isn't merely a customer, he's the new proprietor of this entire mall." A stunned silence swept over the room as James retrieved his phone, scrolling to an email that confirmed his audacious acquisition just last week. "As of yesterday, I own every single outlet in this center, including this very boutique," he announced. Henry staggered backward, his face draining of color. "This must be some kind of error," he stuttered. James's response was cool and resolute. "No error, Henry. I wasn't pilfering, I was poised to invest in your stock, but your baseless accusations have altered my course." The gravity of his words settled like an unyielding verdict. Could this dramatic reversal mark the downfall of old prejudices? In a desperate, trembling plea, Henry turned to Olivia, his eyes glistening with anxiety. "Please, Ms. Brooks, this store is my life, don't fire me," he implored, his voice quivering. Olivia folded her arms, her stance unyielding. A misunderstanding? A misunderstanding is no excuse for defaming the very man who ultimately funds your paycheck. Henry's features crumpled under the weight of his misjudgment. James interjected with quiet finality, "I've encountered many like you over the years, but today, you accused the wrong person." With a measured pause, he continued, "I believe in fairness, but I cannot tolerate a manager who mistreats those he is meant to serve." His tone brooked no argument. After a lingering moment of charged silence, James delivered his final decree. "I'm selling this boutique," he declared, eyes locking with Henry's in a silent ultimatum. "I refuse to have my name tied to a business mismanaged by someone of your making. A new owner, one who values respect, will take the helm, and I expect you to be gone by month's end." Olivia nodded in solemn agreement, sealing Henry's fate. As James took one last, measured look at his former adversary and stepped back into the vibrant throng of the mall, the air seemed to clear. In that decisive moment, justice wasn't just served, it was rewritten. And for those who dare to judge by mere appearances, let this be a resonant warning: prejudice, no matter how deeply ingrained, can ultimately cost you everything. What will you do when the tables turn?